And I think maybe that probably involves every one of us here, that we would have relationships of some kind, in one way or another. So it's an exciting journey we're going to be on this morning. We're going to be doing this exploration through creative arts. That's dance, drama, song, and spoken word, and having a little bit of fun, okay? So we invite you to sit back and relax and enjoy what the team have for you this morning. Our musicians are here, and they're going to sing a song for us, and it's called Tell Me Why. Let's give them a hand.
I saw the words I could
questions, don't they? Right now there's a formality or two that's going to happen. One meeting our tithing bags and buckets that are going to come across the rows and down the aisles. To our guests and our visitors, there is no expectation that you place anything in these bags, but if you wish to do so, thank you. We at Hosanna are committed to giving to God. I thank you. We pray. We thank the Lord. Thank you, Father, for the beautiful day here, for everyone here, for what's been given. Father God, take it, use it for your kingdom, God, in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, well, we've got a further invitation to you, to everybody here this morning for some refreshments. After this morning's service, we've got tea, coffee, cold drinks in the foyer just behind us out the back. We'd love to have you stay on for a wee bit and for a further chat. And also another invitation to you, if you've got one of these flyers as you came in through the door, to our very special event next weekend, and it's going to be here, and it's going to be at 6:30 in the evening. And it's a series of Seasons of the Souls that we've undertaken. We're doing part 2, which is summer. And it's all about living the good life. Who wants to live a good life? Yeah? A few of us? Yeah, well, that's going to be exciting. So take a flyer, remind yourself, and please join us back here next Sunday evening at 6:30. That'll be great. Okay, well, our musicians have warmed up, and now it's your turn to warm up. They're going to gear up again with a couple of participation songs. And that's where we get to participate. Alright, so everyone would like to stand. Woohoo! And our musicians will lead us.
than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you can desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honour. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who embrace her. Those who lay hold of her are blessed.
way that we understand relationships overall. You see, marriage and precious really on because you're face to face, you're there with each other every moment of the day. Well, except when you escape. And it seems in the secular world that that's the key word, escape. People joke about it, people tell stories about it. When workmates are together, they just can't do anything else but sort of, you know, do you have a bad weekend with the wife when you see somebody's drunk? Do you get out again the wrong side? All the wrong kinds of things. And we all desire to have really healthy relationships. I found this quote and I thought it was really helpful for us. Some people will grow up and spread cheer. Others just grow up and spread. Some people work up steam and some only generate a fog. Some people are born with black eyes and some people have to fight for them. Some people are easily entertained. All you have to do is sit and listen to them. That's sometimes the pessimistic worldview that people have of relationships. And I want to talk not just about marriage relationships this morning, I want to talk far wider than that. I want to talk about aspects of relationships that are going to help us to work things out. There were 11 people hanging on a rope under a helicopter. 10 were men and 1 was a woman. The rope was not strong. And it certainly wasn't going to be able to carry them all for very long, so they decided that one person had to leave because the rope would be strong enough to hold the other 10. They were not able to name that person until in the end the woman decided to give a speech. With very touching words, she said that she would voluntarily go the road. Because as a woman, she is used to giving up everything. For her husband, her kids, and for men in general, without ever getting anything in return. As soon as she had finished her speech, all the men started to clap. He goes the guys again, word again. So we want to really talk this morning about getting the best out of relationships. A little I want to talk this morning about the whole deal about getting the best out of relationships. What are the things that we should and shouldn't do? And I don't want this to come across this morning as a bunch of rules. I really think that that's one of the biggest mistakes we make. We say this and that. I remember in the first year and a half of Pauline and my marriage, we've just celebrated last week our 28th wedding anniversary. And why they started the cause because you had no idea what was involved. All you learned except some of you were at my 50th birthday last night, so there we go. And my wife's. She's 50 month tomorrow. And in our first year and a half, we had some absolutely traumatic experiences. There were things that were in our lives that we weren't even aware of. There were expectations, there were driven aspects to us. Pauline was disappointed in me, and I was disappointed in her. She was disappointed because she wanted to marry a guy who was going to be a pastor, and there's no way I looked like I was ever going to be a pastor. She took second best and she married me, and I think for the first year and a half she thought she got 10th best. And it was rough stuff. We really went through the mill. I remember on 4 occasions, well it might have been more, but I think it was 4, where I actually packed my car, I threw my electronics gear in and nothing else mattered. And off I drove. And the only thing that rescued our relationship was the fact get back there and say sorry. And I say to God very clearly, but I didn't do any wrong. And it's funny how we have that perspective. The other person is always wrong. The trouble with God is that he kind of gets involved and intervenes and puts reality in perspective sometimes when we don't want to. In fact, I reckon that's the reason that most people who go to church but don't do the talk are people who don't want to hear him talking. See, they know if they do the talk, they're quite, okay, I'll go to church and maybe I'll get to heaven, I'll be alright. Does it? Because God still talks even if we don't do the talk. And the other aspect of it is that we struggle. You know, I go to church week after week with my wife, knowing what had happened just before we went to church sometimes. And I'd struggle and say, God, forgive me. And God get my wife to the side. When all the time, really, I have to own a high percentage of what's happening. And I'm not talking about, guys, listen to this, a high percentage is not 10%. This is, and ladies too. It takes two to tango, my father used to always say. It takes two to have a fight. It takes two. One person can be upset, but it's not a fight until the second person loses control as well. And so, a reasonable percentage, you've got to own at least 60%, both of you. That's 10% each of compatible wrong things is probably pretty close, at least. Maybe more. Maybe you should go to 70 or 80. All those men in favour of saying they're going to own 80%, raise your hands. One guy be like this. You know? Just not going to happen, is it? Because we guys are like this. Now, in terms of this whole deal, you know, we really want to be getting the best out of our relationships. Absolutely the best. So the first thing I want to ask, what's the most important ingredient for a healthy relationship with another person to develop? What is the most important ingredient? In fact, I have one of the young men here, Duke, this morning will recognise this question because Tara, his girlfriend, who's living right now in Tauranga at the moment, texted him and asked him this question. She's got a sign, what's the most important? So Duke brings me and I'm sitting there thinking, goodness me, I'm doing this message this weekend and he asked me this week of all weeks. That's a good week. What's the answer?
Trust.
Trust. Good thing. I would like to suggest that the natural bag is much more. It's communication. Trust is certainly one of the primary elements blatantly blunt, honest business, so I was pretty messy. Pauline would say some slightly different things. And I'm not going to repeat what she said. But I want to come off, first of all, with a set of don'ts. Now I said, I don't want to hold a rules in it, and please, ladies, listen to this carefully. This is the weakness of women. Don't get a list and throw it at your husband. He'll think it's a shopping list and he'll run a mile. So this is a list. I want to give you don'ts, and I want to give you a word about this because I want to deal with some core issues that cause these difficulties that we actually have. Don't feel that you are superior to the other person or inferior. Don't anticipate the worst. I know what you're going to do! I remember saying that to Pauline, and I remember her saying it to me. I was all get up, night after night after night, ready to do the potatoes, and she knew what I was going to do. It's the biggest discouragement I've ever had. I know what you're going to do. You're going to go and do this. We never had television, so I was always fixing things to do by you. It was a very strong discouragement. Now, not that Pauline did that a lot. But if we anticipate the worst, that's what happens. We get it. Don't threat or allow threat to control a person. Some years ago, I had a young couple that I was counselling quite a few years ago now. They came to me, and the guy came to me and said, this young lady doesn't want to break up the relationship with me. And she said to me, that if you do this, I will commit suicide. And I said to the young man, I said, that's her responsibility, not yours at that point. If she does this to you and you're allowed to control you, you'll hate yourself for the rest of your life and you'll hate her. I said, break it off now. And he said, what does she commit suicide? I said, that's her decision before God and her. That's not your problem. At the end of the day, it's her decision. And he had made a decision to break the relationship, but it was at that point the healthiest thing he could have done. I'd love to say that he kept doing healthy things, he didn't. But threat or allowing threat to control is not the way. If you do this, I'll leave! I can tell you, you will reap the words that you sow. You will do it. Or the other person will get so sick of it, will say, go! Get out! And before you know where everything's gone, it's spiraled right out of control and you are in a serious mess. And you didn't mean it to happen. No, really, I didn't mean it to happen like that. I said, why did you say it? Threatening the word that it costs. Don't use the silence treatment. Or the withholding one we saw on stage here. I thought they marvelously. And when the staff was going around the room, I was trying to hear which voices were laughing the most, so I knew we related most to the situation. No, I wasn't really. I was only just enjoying myself. Oh my goodness. Don't use silent treatment. Don't use withholding in any sense or any form or shape, because that in itself is extremely destructive. It actually says to the other person in a very clear message, even if you don't intend it, is that I do not love you. The next one. Don't be mouthy. You know the best way to wear a guy down is to be mouthy. I have been related to some people who are not part of the Christian community. This community in this area here, and one of the things that this guy talks about is the fact that his wife never ever stopped mouthing. Now, he knows he has some responsibility. He knows it. But one of the problems was that she just couldn't stop. She just couldn't stop. Don't be negative. Don't be negative. You're useless. You never did well at school. So what? Nor did some of the most famous and wealthiest people in New Zealand. So people wobble. Use a term that comes from my family. I don't know where it came from originally. The last one. Don't be possessive. When I see guys or girls trying to be possessive, that I know that they're in a bad relationship. If I say to my wife, don't go and talk to that guy because he might be, he's got his eyes on you. No? Then what I'm saying is that I don't trust you for it. If I say that kind of thing, that's what I'm saying. Very clear, I don't trust you. And the moment you do that, you generate an environment which creates even further problems than you could ever imagine. Far bigger problems. When you clearly say to another person, I trust you implicitly in spite of what may have happened in your past. That is so firm and so strong. Now, okay, there's a philosophy in the world that says, fools only trust those who have blown up in the past. It's not always said in those words, but that's what's said. That is absolutely rubbish in terms of gender. It's the odd person who will repeatedly make mistakes, who will repeatedly be distrustful. But you don't need to be concerned about that in a general sense. If you keep pursuing it, you'll get what you were looking for. Now sometimes people have ideals that are not very realistic. There was a guy called George sitting in the bar with his 40-year-old buddy, Johnny. How come you aren't married? Said Johnny to George. I haven't found the right woman yet, George. So what are you looking for, Johnny? Oh, she's got to be real pretty, a good cook and a housekeeper, and she's got to know how to handle money. A really nice and pleasant personality is a must, and money, she's got to have money and a nice big house, George. A woman like that would be crazy to marry you, Johnny, says George. Oh, it's okay. She's crazy. And I think that's the way we actually do it. It's overstated there, but it's what we do. And so as we go on this journey right now, I want to touch on some things that I haven't got on the slide up there, so if you take any notes you can, if you want a copy of this message afterwards, so you can recall information. Nick will do one for you. I don't normally tell you that. It's the first time I think I've told you. But I think some of these things are so important for someone to hear this morning. The first thing I will want to say, in terms of who we are, what you do speak so loudly that people will say, I can't hear what you're trying to say. The two things differ in some sense. The most important single factor affecting behaviour is the self-concept. This is a term that's used in the training of psychologists. What people do at every moment of their lives is a product of how they see themselves and the situation they are in. Belief about self, either good or poor, will affect the way that we relate. The things that we do, in other words, the things that we do in our relationships with others is more about who we are than who the other person is. When we get angry, it says more about who we are than it does about the object of our anger. And we don't always recognise this. And I think if any of you can grapple with this here this morning, we would be absolutely pleased because it will help your relationships amazingly. You see, I look back in my life, I was a young man who was told he was useless. I was a young man who had a father and mother who had a relationship when I was younger that was very destructive. I'm just so thankful today that they have a wonderful, loving, caring relationship for each other. In comparison to what they had, it's almost nothing. But it was the change to the point one night where I wanted to do something that would finish my father's life. That's how angry I was. And I was a product of all that stuff. A whole lot of stuff I can't exactly explain right now, but because I've got the time. But all this stuff fed into my life. So when I entered the marriage relationship with my wife, what happened? The stuff I knew so well, the fact that I She became all that I was. I really wasn't calling it all. It was me. It was my perceptions of her that I was dumping on top of her, and it was so destructive. So very, very, very destructive. The only reason we made it, and I want you to hear this clearly, is because every time I got my car, God told me off and he rebuked me and told me if I needed to get right together and hear what he was saying. I don't know how there's no way I would have made it if I hadn't had that relationship with God. There's just no way. When someone is the centre of the universe, one of the things that actually happens is that we actually don't appreciate anybody else taking centre stage with us, whether in marriage or in some other kind of relationship that we might have, a close friend or whatever. I had a very close friend, a person who I trusted a lot and I was very close to, but looking back on our relationship, he actually controlled and manipulated and dictated to me, and I always did what he said because I knew that if I didn't, it was going to be God. And looking back at his life, I can see why it happened. I still appreciate and care for this person that hasn't made me care for them any less, but it has helped me to recognise what I need to do when I get into relationships and the things I need to avoid. The one thing that did happen for me in terms of that relationship was that the centre of my universe, when it ceased just to be me, and it took a while before it to shift, when God got in my face, got involved in my life, I started to recognise that I actually wasn't the centre of the universe. I never understood those terms. I started to recognise that really he was. And every time I put him at the centre of the universe, things got into balance and health in our relationship. When both of us really got to that place where he was really truly the centre of the universe and we weren't, that's when our relationship really became something very, very different. Now I want to tell you this open honestly for those of you who may not be Christians here this morning. There are some Christians who are still trying to be the centre of the universe and God revolves around them, but it just isn't happening. They might kid themselves, but they're not kidding God or anybody else. That's a reality. The reality is that he wants us to recognise that we are not the centre of the universe. And it's when we recognise that whether it's trauma or good times or whatever, our lives will change dramatically. The next one. Our assumption is often that we know the other person. Therefore we know what to do. However, listen to this carefully, we are affected by our own baggage that needs processing, and sometimes we can't do that on our own. And there are some people who need to spend some time with a counsellor, need to spend some time with God too, I would suggest. Need to spend some time outside their own situation with somebody able to look in when you're facing difficulties in relationships. And please, let me get this one clear. Some people some years ago when I was preaching here, went woo when I was preaching. I do this now, apparently. When I said that I named my oldest daughter her second name is the name of my last girlfriend I had before Louise. When I told them I still loved Louise and Suzanne, I'd gone around with some years and I still had love for them. Woo! You know why? Because the world values that we tend to have in the secular world is if you break up a relationship, you've got to hate the other person almost. That is not a value that God honors or respects. I love both those people, but I didn't love them enough at the end to marry them. Actually, one of them didn't love me enough at the end to marry them. people in the midst of an argument do not hear what the other person is saying. You often hear it, and I've heard people, I've stood up people in my counselling sessions sometimes, premarital counselling, several times. I've actually had twice where the male in the relationship has actually got physically violent. Both times they directed it towards me. I sort of maybe should wear, Iron Man gear or something. But each time I knew what the trigger point was. And I needed to expose it to be sure, because I knew that if I didn't help them work through these issues before they got married, it was going to happen in the marriage. One guy stood up over me, and I'd just been telling him he had a chronicles of violence. No, I haven't. I said, look, it shows out here. Some of the things you've said, you've built these sheets out on us, you haven't been, yes. I said, well, I'm clearly seeing these sheets that you have chronicles of violence. I do know, she says to me, imagine knows me. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but it's there. And I said, if I ask, you'll be answer right now. If you've already attacked her physically, what's the response I'm going to get? He grows out of his and he pulled his fist back. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to conquer him. I pointed at his fist and said, see what I mean? I said, if you go into marriage like this, then your marriage is never going to last. It's going to end up a mess and you're going to end up a very messed up person. You need to deal with this issue. So he decided that he wasn't going to be married by me, so he went off to another church and got married. And today, they're not married. They have terrible sets of violence and other things that happen. If only they had listened. Because I was really wanting to help them. And exposing it was necessary to help, because you cannot leave something hidden. Effective learning is a point of dialogue with real problems. You cannot talk and talk abstract. You must talk the real stuff. And be willing to hear what the other person says. And if you can't hear and the other person says, you're not hearing me, then stop and say, what am I not hearing? And try to hear what the other person's hearing. And if they keep saying you're not hearing me, say, maybe we need to get somebody outside to look here, because I'm not getting my head around this. And it might be the other person's fault, they're not expressing themselves as well as they could, their own influences have affected the way they communicate, whatever. But it's wise. The next one, a positive view of yourself will have an effect on a person's efficiency on the one side and on their freedom on the other. You see, if you have a positive view of yourself, you're able to see yourself differently to who you really are. You're able to see the changes that are happening and focus on those instead of the bad stuff in the past. And your friend in your relationship or your married partner, your relationship is able to see it's tremendously free, and it helps you live life at a higher level. The second to last one, understanding the other person. There's a thing called reading behaviour backwards. Some people do it intuitively. But, when you see somebody throw a ball, and another person standing there, and the person throws the ball, and it looks like they're putting quite a bit of energy into it, and the other person sees the ball coming, and the immediate instinct is to duck. When they could have caught it, what do you recognise? Somewhere in their past, there's been a fear of being hit by a ball. Whether it's because some bully at school, when they're playing ball tag, would go, wham, and you're slamming them. And that's often the history behind it. Or some other situation, we don't see it. So if we were teachers and we were looking around a playground in the school, and we observed some certain behaviours, you could read back as to what may have caused these things. You may not get it exact, but you'll have some idea. Now, when you're in a relationship, if you can learn to do this, then it's very helpful. See, people behave as a function of the way they perceive or see things. So if they react to certain situations, the best thing you can do is read it backwards and not sit there and pound off to them and say, I know why you did that. Good. Just create another problem. Just appreciate who that person is and try to avoid those kinds of situations. And then you'll have a far healthier relationship. So I want to finish very quickly with some final slides this morning. First thing, and a bunch of do's. Do place your relationship at the top of your priorities. Some more do's. Another one. Who would be the most enthusiastic person you know? It's no good in council saying, you've got a great relationship, there's good things happening, I've been wonderful. If you take no notice, it's quite likely in some situations the council will run off with your wife or your husband. Next one. Do talk about your addiction. These two guys haven't been talking the right way, but they've decided this is a better way. And they're trying to do this one. The next one. Do cultivate transparency. When you're transparent, when you take on with each other. Now, there are some things, and I've got to tell you this, there's a couple of things I've never ever told Pauline, and I never will. Because they would be damaging to you. And then before your mind starts buzzing all over. And I know some of your minds do. It's not while I've been a pastor or while I was now a pastor. Why did that? It's just stuff that would not be helpful for you to know. And I'm not going to tell her. And I'm not going to tell you, so don't even bother. You do need to cultivate transparency. Do live in the issues of love. Criticism is not one. The other one is being restricted. And what were you doing talking to him the other night? Do you like him? You will be so destructive. The moment you sow that seed, you will reap the harvest you have sown. See, do give space and do give freedom. Because space and freedom are the things that allow for great relationships. If you wish to be loved, love. That's the message. If you wish to be loved, love. And don't expect the other person to do it all the time. It's your responsibility primarily. And the next one. Do learn to listen. Do learn to listen. A person who has faced rejection themselves will often get the question, do you love me? Ask of them. And they get frustrated because they feel they have said they do love and the person loves. But in fact, their own sense of rejection, listen to this, is being projected on the other person by the things they do and do not do. When we have faced rejection of any kind, it hinders our ability to listen. It hinders our ability to listen entirely. And we need to learn to get past it. So the final slide. Real love can be seen. Real love can be seen. I want to finish with a proverb. Proverbs from Proverbs chapter 12 that was listed by me. Here are the words, listen to them. See how much sense they have. Reckless words pierce like a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. There is deceit in the hearts of those who plot evil, but joy for those who promote peace. No harm befalls the righteous, but the wicked have their fill of trouble. By the way, if you keep thinking you've got lots of trouble in your life, go read this verse a few times. The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in men who are truthful. A prudent man keeps his knowledge to himself, but the heart of a fool blurts out folly. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends And remember, this is from God's word, those things. God's terms, any person that doesn't do what God would love them to do, both in their relationships with each other and their relationships with Him. Let's talk to God. If you'd like to do so, I invite you to feel free to do so. I'm going to say Lord, you can see, and if you agree with this reading, please feel free to say Amen. Heavenly Father, we saw the beauty of the love between Helen and Helen as a husband and wife dancing on the stage. And a lot of us here know the trauma that accompanies to get to that place. Father, we saw the drama that so clearly portrayed the kinds of things that often have happened in our own lives. Some of us have put more past it than with it still. Some of us are facing the very issues that was right there on the stage today. And God, we want to give you a shot, and we want to give you a chance to be able to intervene in our relationships, to be able to get involved, to be able to hold us accountable, to teach us how to be more like you instead of like ourselves. Because really, ourselves and our past and things we've had, some of it's pretty messed up stuff and it's not good. In fact, we know, God, that your word says it's not one but we're not one. We can compare ourselves in the best. Guiding from the shadow of your light. So God, we want to say sorry for the times when we have messed up in our relationships. We've had bad attitudes too. We've allowed stuff from our past to influence us. We've not really sought to understand the other person properly. Or we've had agendas that have been hidden behind that we haven't even understood, but we've seen a little while. So help us, God, to grapple with this and to make our relationships and our marriages and our friendships that we have at work or wherever else. Help us to be shaped by you. God, there's some of us here that claim to be Christians but haven't been doing what we know we should have done, and we've been sitting here, we squirmed a little bit with the drama and we laughed. God, the reality is that we want to way out, but sometimes we haven't found it. God, really the way to solve the problem is to run, the way to solve it is to walk with you. So God, we're sorry that we haven't done it at times. Help us to do it together in our relationships. And God, there's some of us here that don't know you yet, but we're here. I know you're glad we're here. Others are glad we're here. God, we want to talk to you. We just want you to